Cena cooks our savior and Reigns ramps up, and a whole bunch of upsets this week. So that's all next. Well, let's just get right to it and start the 10 count with topic number 1, take 2, and we had an end of SmackDown that needed to be reshot as Logan Paul needed to get in a better punch on John Cena, which I admit is kind of hilarious. But before that, we got to it because Drew McIntyre was coaching Logan Paul up, saying that he had to make things right tonight and do whatever it takes. But first, I don't think Paul's the kind of guy who would need to really hear that, but at least maybe this will turn right back around and Cena will have a match with McIntyre before all is said and done. But before that, we had Cena being the one to cook Logan Paul inside the ring, and even though Paul got in a few good points earlier saying he's not an outsider anymore, and that Cena has been doing the same 5 moves for the last 25 years, while he's putting his life on the line every single match. But I have to admit, why would anyone do any other moves than just 5 moves if you can win pretty much every single match in that fashion? But I have to say, what Cena did was a perfect encapsulation of Paul in WWE, as Cena repeated his own words from a few months ago when those two tagged together, and then he flipped them around, saying that he admitted that he believes those words to be true, but now he's just upset by the fact that Paul is a future WWE champion and a WrestleMania main eventer. So while Paul is our YouTube Lord and Savior, I have to admit that it does kind of seem like it is a branding opportunity, as Prime was the first logo in the middle of the ring, if you can remember that. And he does also seem a little bit slimy and a parasite at certain times. So yeah, I guess I have to agree with Cena there. But is Cena wasting his time with Paul? Well, with just 10 appearances left, and after this week's SmackDown and Clash in Paris, we'll be down to 8. And then there's 2 more appearances before Lesnar at WrestlePalooza, leaving just 5 dates for 3 matches at Crown Jewel, Survivor Series, and Saturday night's main event. So let's hope we can maybe get that McIntyre match and maybe see something with the IC title pretty soon, and it'll all be worth it. Alright, let's go to topic number 2, and changing it up, as I've bemoaned WWE for having Roman Reigns do the same thing week in and week out since he returned, but thankfully he did a lot more than normal this time around, as he kicked off the show, and indeed to a very hot Birmingham crowd that was perhaps too hot, as it took nearly 10 minutes for Reigns to even get into things, and it ended up taking nearly 30 minutes in this opening segment. So obviously things aren't the same for Reigns as they used to be, which I have to say is for the better, because I was at the Royal Rumble in 2024 and the crowd was chanting same old crap at the ridiculous ending for the Fatal 4-Way where he retained the title, because he needed shenanigans pretty much every single match. And you know what? They were right on the money, I think, here, when they booed Rhodes, and Reigns responded by saying that was interesting, so I guess it might leave up the possibility for a reversal of a Reigns-Rhodes match to perhaps end a trilogy. So the best part here was Reigns realizing Reed's Samoan, saying that Reed now belongs to him, and of course that led right into a brawl, and then Reigns was used 2 times later in the night. First, with a pep talk to Jay. Now, I didn't quite get what Roman was doing there, as he's been leaning babyface in the last 2 in-ring promos, so this seemed more to be a classic tweener, because saying you're doing it for yourself, and it's not about making friends, and you need to lock in your legacy, those are all things not a babyface would say. So that continued at the end of the show as Reigns attacked Breakker without provocation backstage, as he was just merely walking to the ring. So that led to another brawl and apparently kept both him and Reed from being able to appear at the end of the show. Now Triple H said on Unreal that Reigns was neither a babyface nor a heel, and this seems to be swinging us back in the direction of him not being a good guy, not being a bad guy, but being the guy. I bet you can remember those days awfully well. Alright, let's go to topic number 3, and is that the prettiest holding pattern ever, as Tiffany Stratton continues to do a whole lot of nothing, as she interrupted Becky for reasons, and that led to the reinsertion of Nia into proceedings as well. So I gave WWE some grace for giving Nia one more title chance back in June, as that was her 3rd title shot at Tiffany since losing the title in January. And of course, no one thought she'd win that. And we also didn't think Trish Stratus had any chance to beat her as well, so then the one time where we thought someone could beat Tiffy, they didn't do it with Jade at SummerSlam. So now we have both Nia and Jade just kind of hanging around because there's nothing really else that we could do right now, huh? So while she's had one defense each month, things just are not so interesting for her right now, so it looks like the same old, same old. Topic number 4, Dublin Down, as the man came around on both shows this week, opening the first ever TV broadcast from Dublin, which I have to give her really strong work there by teasing nice things and then letting them have it, such as Dublin not deserving a TV show and then Birmingham being a dump. So props to her for staying in character, over showing her hometown and also, loyalty for Birmingham as well. So she did get to main event SmackDown, but that match was a complete nothing burger as it got almost no time, starting with less than 10 minutes to go in the show and having a commercial within it. Now the Raw appearance was much more interesting as Nikki was the one who got in a bunch of digs this time, highlighted by calling her a coward, which was the better C word to use here, but this has been start and stop so much that it doesn't really seem to be worth the time at Clash in Paris, and we should have given this match to Stephanie and Io or whoever instead. So I guess they just don't know who they want to hold that title yet. All right, topic number 4, way too quiet, as it's been unbelievably 2 years since the unfortunate passing of the great Bray Wyatt. So that didn't get a single mention on either show this week, and we also didn't really get the Wyatt Six doing anything noteworthy on SmackDown. Now, I really don't mind them creeping in the background in front of a bunch of different segments, but since they're champions, they don't really need to be eavesdropping on the rest of the tag division. It's not like they're even searching for their next opponent, as the Street Profits and Mellows Don't Miz are now lined up for a #1 contenders match next week. So I don't know, maybe we'll be off and running after that match, but I'd rather they just give them a target and then, have some creepy promos from there. Now, as for Nikki, I guess we might as well let her do something. I mean, she's literally had just one match, which was all the way back last September since the Wyatt Six formed. So if we can get her in the ring for any reason, I'm all for it. Well, okay, with that, let's go to our winner of the week, and that is Kofi Kingston. He, a former champion himself, doesn't get too many one-on-one matches, but he scored a huge upset win versus Penta, which was his first of those wins since 2023, and he did it mostly cleanly with neither Waller nor Woods making contact with Penta in their distractions. Now, this was rare to see Kofi get in all his moves, including a boom drop, a famouser, and the Trouble in Paradise to score this win, and on top of that, he even avoided a Mexican Destroyer and kicked out of the Penta Driver. So I have to say, he looks stronger than he had in a long time, avenging Woods' loss and needing that neck break by getting hit by the Mexican Destroyer. And I have to admit, the petition to ban it is a pretty good idea because, you land on your crown of the head the same way that you do for a pile driver, but since this requires a fast spinning movement, it seems like it would be more dangerous to hit. So good luck with Waller on getting those signatures. So let's go to the loser of the week, which is Charlotte Flair, because in the reverse of Kingston, it was Charlotte who hit both a spear and a moonsault, but Piper Niven kicked out of both of those, and then after Chelsea raked her eyes going for the figure 8, Charlotte took one Piper driver, and that was that, which I have to say seems way too easy of a loss for her. So while we've been noting that a 3-on-1 advantage is not enough for Chelsea and the Hervis pretty much every week, I'm just not sure why this week was any different. But I suppose in the curious booking of WWE, a one-on-one win somehow often can get you a tag title shot, and that is exactly what we got this week, as the Allies of Convenience will battle the Secret Hervis on SmackDown this week. So with Alexa back, I certainly expect Charlotte to have a lot less difficulty in winning there, but for 1 week, certainly have to say this was a pretty strange sight to see. And finally, the stats of the week. Well, this was a week of pretty strange wins, and Piper's win was actually the least surprising of them, because while this was her first one-on-one win since March, she actually improved to a not horrific 3-6 one-on-one record this year. But then we had Dragon Lee defeat JD McDonough after Balor got ejected for no real reason at all, and then AJ Styles ran off Dominic Mysterio. So this was the case of whatever the opposite of the unstoppable force taking on the immovable object, as both of them were winless in one-on-one matches in 2025. So while McDonough remains winless since February of 2024, Lee got his first one-on-one win since last November, stopping a 5-match losing streak in singles competition and a 1-3 in one-on-one matches. But Kingston's upset over Penta takes the cake here because Penta is tied with Knight for the most one-on-one wins in 2025 with 10, so while Kingston had lost 9 straight one-on-one decisions with 1 tie, he also now has 11 straight singles matches without a win, dating back to September 18th, 2023, which fortunately he ended here. Well, it looks like I did not beat the 10 count this week, which I have to admit is not an upset. But I would be upset if you did not go back and check out my picks for the top face and top heel of WWE Unreal right here. So until next time, I am the SportsZu, and this has been Stop the 10 Count.